As the war on Syria is winding down, hidden aspects of the conflict, including the role of foreign players, are coming to light. Throughout the war, Syria repeatedly accused Israel of helping terror groups who fought to topple Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Western mainstream media imposed a blackout on the accusations, but Israeli media now admits that Tel Aviv actually funded and armed militants with the aim of pushing back Syrian troops and allied fighters.
Israel has been funding Daesh rebel groups, specifically al-Nusra, for years. And this is a story I've been reporting myself, and a number of other media outlets have been reporting.
At least 12 militant groups received weapons and funding from Israel. The military transfers, which ended in July, included assault rifles, machine guns, mortar launchers, and transport vehicles. Israeli security agencies delivered the weapons through 3 gates connecting the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights to Israel. There are other examples of Israeli support for the terrorists. Israel has built field hospitals for injured militants, where the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited such hospitals before, and Israel's recent moves to help transfer the so-called white helmets from Syria to other countries. But the mere fact that Israel supported these terrorists could point to a wider agenda. Prolonging the war would allow them to weaken the Syrian army, while Israel would target Iranian and Hezbollah presence in the country.
It's been supporting them with, not just with medical help, which is what Israel has promoted, that it's been doing humanitarian relief. That's not all it's been doing. It's senior IDF officers have been giving them intelligence information. There have been meetings between Israeli military groups and the al-Nusra group for years.
Israel has largely kept silent on its operations against Syria, but in a rare move, the Israeli military acknowledged earlier this week that it has carried out over 200 airstrikes against Syria during the conflict. Israel claims it bombs the positions of Iranian forces, but Iran rejects claims it has deployed combat troops to Syria, saying its presence in Syria is limited to an advisory role.
As far as Israel is concerned, this war is not over, because Israel sees Iran as its primary enemy, its nemesis in the region, its regional rival. So Iran is going to maintain a presence in Syria. So whether or not Assad takes Idlib and assumes control of his the whole country, Iran will still be there, and Israel will see Iran as an unwelcome presence in Syria and will continue attacking Syria.
Western observers have admitted that the downfall of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad would have been in Israel's geostrategic interests. They say this would have eliminated a key part of what has come to be known as the axis of resistance, including Iran, Syria, and Hezbollah. The analysts also claim Assad's downfall would have undermined Iran in the region as well. Israel and the West appear to have abandoned the idea of pushing for regime change in Syria, as they know it's impossible. After all, they have been defeated militarily. They are now focused on keeping up pressure on Syria and its allies through their military presence and launching sporadic air raids. Assad is now on the verge of totally defeating the foreign-backed conspiracy against his country. Military experts say Assad is weeks away from final victory over terror groups responsible for the militancy that has killed hundreds of thousands of people.